What is up, guys? This is me again, and today we're not going to actually ride any quads in today's vlog. This on my wrist might give a clue, especially you guys that shoot bow. This might release. Yeah, I'm going to get a little bit of bow shooting clips on camera. And sorry for like the big zit on my forehead, I know. I just like woke up with it. Kind of pissed me off. So anyway, today I'm just going to like kind of do a recap of like last weekend and stuff. And whatnot, and give you guys an update on my mom's quad. But for now, I want to show you guys just kind of like what my archery looks like. Alright, so here we have it. Bowtech Diamond Razor Edge left-hand package, because I am left-handed, and these arrows I just got today. I spent $106 on arrows, field points, and broadheads, and also some batteries for the rangefinder, and I mean, that's a lot of money. This archery stuff isn't cheap. If you look down here, this is the target we're going to be shooting. I want to aim just like somewhere in these lungs here. You know, any arrow that like hits inside this green line is, you know, a kill. So, of course, that's what I want to do, is get a kill. To be 100% honest with you guys, I haven't actually shot a deer or anything like that in actual season. I mean, like, I killed rabbits in season. And I got a groundhog, I got a chipmunk, but I have yet to actually like shoot a deer with a bow, but I've gotten them with guns. Alright, I'm going to edit this clip down so you have to see all the weight, but I'm going to shoot this target. And you're going to see arrows hit it. Oh, as you can see, I'm already doing pretty good. I mean, I'm still kind of cold, so, you know, my shooting isn't the best, but I'm actually doing not a half bad today. Alright, so now, here's just like what it looks like from my perspective, I guess. It's like me shooting. Alright guys, I just want to like share a little clip of, you know, what it looks like when I shoot bow and or whatever, and I'm kind of curious myself like what it looks like when arrows like hit the target. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm gonna go pull this arrow here, which I'll show you. You can see is like a perfect bullseye, like right in the middle of double lungs. Like I put my pin right here on the lung tag, and yeah, I mean if this was a real deer, this would be a perfect double lung, and it'd be killed like nice, quickly, and humanely. Oh, by the way, that last shot, I did get some string slap. I don't know if you can see, like right on there, what that did. That was kind of painful. There we go. Put my bow back, and after that, I'll go out to the shed and give you guys a quick little recap. By the way, if you're wondering, this is a diamond bow. It's basically a Bowtech. It's just like one of our brands. I've had it since I was 11, and shoots pretty good. Alright, so I hope it isn't too dark in here for you guys. I hope it's good lighting. Looks good on my end. Well, anyway, about Mom's quad. You guys saw that tour de force video. If you guys are active on my channel, and you know, you saw the thing broke down, then like you heard me talking about how I had to catch her. It took me like 10 minutes to catch her, by the way. Even though she got like a head start and was running normal speed, because Trixie is pretty damn fast. And while we're talking about Trixie, see that little sticker I got on there. I riced her out even more. Let me know in the comments if you guys like that sticker and like where it's located. When I had my Bayou, I put a sticker like that on it. Well, anyway, yeah, about Mom's quad. The problem is like in the valve train and the head, because the head's burned up. To get this thing running again, it'll need a new head. Well, that's the gas tank, you know, the head is down there, like on the motor, see, cylinder head. Because like the valves have receded into the head, and Yeah, and there's like too much clearance, and they're like tightening up, and I mean, long story short, it just needs a new cylinder head, and that's a good bit of money, and that's kind of extensive, replacing a cylinder head. So that being said, I know my dad's made an offer to possibly buy the quad off as like a parts bike, and my mom was talking about just selling the bike. She's had a good run with it. I mean, it's perfect for what she does, but she's thinking about selling it and getting something new. And the two quads, like, she's really looking at, like, I kind of had some input, sorry for the camera shake there, is the Honda 250X and the Honda Recon. The 250X, for example, is like this in some ways, and in some ways it's like this. And now you guys are like shadesmoto or EJ, whatever you guys want to call me. Some of you guys just call me by my channel name, as I see in school all the time. Like, everyone's like, oh, shadesmoto. Well, anyway, you guys could be like, could you be any more vague? I'm just saying it could be like that, it's kind of like that. Well, let me specify here. The 250X is a more sportier chassis, It does like have a little differential, but it's like a lock differential. It's a shaft drive, which is more like the body utility, but it's single shock in the rear, so you don't have like the body roll of like IRS or two shock on a solid axle. So it'll drift before it flips over. So it's more like a sport quad. It's built on a more nimble chassis, better steering and everything, and also like the way it builds power. I mean, it's not quite as like twitchy and as intense as my quad, but at the same time, it's not just like utility quad like that. Now this is more of like a sporty utility quad. Like this right here, the Polaris, it's just slow, low end torque for pulling trailers and plowing snow. That's all it's good for. And to be honest, anything with a belt drive is junk. It is. My mom likes to hit mud puddles, and if she got a sport quad like mine, as much as I'm pressuring, like, oh, get the new 450R, it's really hard on the bearings and the chains and sprockets, whereas a shaft drive quad is better for it. And she doesn't want CVT, and I told her, stay away from CVT. You'll have problems with CVT. So, the Recon is basically like the Bayou, something she's like before, good Honda, reliable. And then the 250X is, shaft drive and is in some ways kind of like the Bayou. I'm pretty sure you could put a hitch ball on the back, but it's a little bit faster and just a little bit more sporty. But, you can still run it through a mud puddle and you don't have to worry about destroying a set of chains and sprockets. And also weight is a factor. And four-wheel drive isn't necessary. My mom gets this for bigger puddles than most people can with that, having 4x4 and the option to lock the front differential. This Polaris you guys are looking at here weighs about 750 pounds and it's full of everything. 750 pounds is a lot. Just to give you guys an example of the weight savings, like getting a quad that weighs 450 pounds or less versus getting something that weighs more than 600. This gas can here, which isn't completely full, but if it was full, holds 5 gallons of fuel, and full weighs about 30 some pounds, right? So let's say you want to get a quad at 600 pounds versus a quad that's 450. That's like taking like 4 or 5. Yeah, because you overfill these a little bit, like 4.5 of these. Imagine this full, like how heavy it is. 4.5 of those extra of weight. And that affects handling. And handling is key. I mean, if you're plowing snow, like you would with that Polaris, no big deal. But if you go on the trails, especially from the right higher speeds, handling is everything. This is as good as handling as you can get. But, however, there is some things like my mom doesn't necessarily want. Such as, chain drive, because she likes to go through mud. But, I mean, she could deal with chain drive if she had to. The big thing for her is a clutch, which I don't get because, I mean, I struggled a little bit the first couple times riding my dad's quad with a clutch, but get used to it pretty fast. And doing this becomes like second nature, like swallowing your food. And now, well, my mom wants an automatic. She doesn't want to just, put it into a gear and that's all you can do. Her Bayou is set up, I mean, you can still change gear. This is a semi-automatic clutch. This right here is the rear brake. It goes to the rear brake. See, no clutch. It's a centrifugal clutch, and you just, up for an upshift, down for an downshift, neutral's at the bottom. The Honda 250X has what's called a sport clutch. Now this is why I kind of recommend it to her. I mean, it's her choice, but I'm just saying if you wanted to try something a little bit more sporty, something that handles a little bit better, but you still have the shaft drive, then that would be a valid option. I'm pretty sure you could put a hitch ball in the back. Double check me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure on the back you can. The sport clutch has a clutch on it. You could pop the clutch. You could rev it up and launch it. You could rev match down gears or whatever. But the shifter is a little bit bigger instead of just like this twiggy little shifter, and you could shift it and pull away and stuff without using the clutch at all. This makes it impossible to stall the bike. I mean, unless it's really cold, you didn't warm it up at all or whatever. But I mean, we're talking about stalling the bike, you let out the clutch too fast or whatever. Now, I mean, you'll still never get the same control with the sport clutch as you do with a manual clutch. I really don't know, but I don't think you could ghost ride it, and yeah, I mean, it's just less control. You're not in control of everything. You have the sport clutch doing some stuff for you, and parking and biking gear, I don't know if it'll be as effective. So you do have more control from manual, but the sport clutch definitely would give more control than just having some automatic foot shift. It does give you some more options, and does make it a little bit more sporty. But then again, I mean, at the end of the day, it's her choice. I just recommended the 250X because I see people like Matt Orman and Redneck Riding 101 that pick up huge wheelies on it. I mean, you could still have fun on the bike, but you could take it through a mud puddle, and you don't have to worry about destroying a very expensive changing sprockets. At the end of the day, when it all boils down to everything, bikes like this just shit on everything. Everything. I mean, some of those bigger side-by-sides have a little bit higher top speed, but they don't accelerate quite as fast at the lower RPMs. And yes, I know there's 450Rs and stuff, but I mean, I'm including this in the same categories, just a performance sport quad. So if you want to go out there and go fast, you buy a pure performance sport quad. But not every quad is a pure performance sport quad. I mean, here, you kind of have, this is kind of sporty for utility. This right here is, as sporty as a bulldozer, but it's because different people have different needs and like to do different things. You don't win mud bog races on a chain drive, two-wheel drive sport quad. The same reason you don't win a GNCC championship on a big hulking 4x4. So it's somewhere in the middle. There's a compromise between someone that wants to, have a more relaxed ride and wants to hit mud, but at the same time they don't want to be going 10 miles per hour when you approach a turn. So somewhere in the middle, there is something like this that could handle decent for its class, or things like I mentioned before, 250X, which is a sport quad, but it's kind of on the verge of almost being towards utility and has a more laid-back riding style associated with it. You heard me say before, got back down and talk to you guys, that everything belt drive is junk. Lots of you guys are going to get kind of defensive. I mean, if you're not doing anything hard, you're just occasionally plowing a driveway or pulling a shit splitter around the farm field here and there, you're not going to have issues because you don't ride it. But if you are doing heavy duty work every day, or you go on the trail and you ride spirited at all, you're going to run into problems. Because you see a belt drive, it's you have your pulleys and your clutches and everything, and they move the belt around on them. And it tightens the belt when you take off. But belts really aren't that heavy duty, and they do break after a while, especially if you get water on them. And just after a while, you will stretch them, you will break them, and there's no warning really to when a belt goes bad. And there just isn't. With my quad, at least, you could see the chain, be like, all right, the chain's kind of loose, tighten it, and you get some kind of precursor as you're about to lose part of your drive line. These Polarises, they don't. And then you get people like Mark, for example, last weekend. He was running top speed, which for that Polaris is 40 miles per hour, in four-wheel drive. So that belt was toast. And this right here, this Polaris. See, it's not small at all. I mean, look, it's got heated grips and everything. And my stepdad, he's a pretty big guy. So you figure if he decides he wants to get sporty on the trail, you sit on And with him, he weighs like 350 pounds or so, roughly. Now you're sitting on this big machine and you're a big person. You go to take off, so, you stab the throttle. It has no gears, so it takes longer to build RPMs, and it puts a lot of stress on these belts. Like the belts underneath all his bodywork and everything, where all the clutches and stuff are. And when you do that, you risk breaking the belts because you're putting lots of strain on them. I mean, with me, it's still putting strain getting on and off the gas, whereas my quad, there really is nothing to hurt. And these centrifugal clutch quads, as long as you're not stupid with what you do on them, I mean, those will last forever. But these belt drive quads, I don't know why everyone buys them. Belt drive is junk. If you buy a Polaris, then you obviously have no intent on learning how to ride, and you don't know how to ride. I mean, there are a few people that had sport quads now, they just want to go slow, and they know how to ride, but most of the people buy these, they don't know how to ride, and everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki, all of them are now coming with CVTs, and people are running into these belt drive problems. Whereas Honda actually thinks about what they do. You can still get gears in them. I mean, you might just put it in drive, but it's like a centrifugal clutch or whatever, just automatically selecting gears for you. Not belts, not belt ratios, gears. And that makes a huge difference because it's a lot more durable, and it lasts a lot longer, and it can take a lot more abuse, and you're getting more power to ground. If I stab this throttle here, this quad makes about 40 crank horsepower, so roughly. You know what kind of percentage of that power, if I'm at redline, like I take this all the way to redline, I'd be getting to the ground? On a quad like this, about 58%. The side-by-sides are better. You get about 60%. That's right, 60%. So you buy one of the new turbo side-by-sides, and you pay for like 140 some horsepower. You're getting, what is that, 60... You're getting about 90 horsepower to the ground. You're getting about what an Arctic Cat 1000 makes at the crank, 2 back tires, and you pay to have these turbos and stuff. Whereas, centrifugal clutch, it's nearly about 80% efficient. And like the big Honda utilities, 75, 80% efficient. And then you have chain drive, like this, as long as your clutch isn't slipping, it's like 95% efficient because it's just simply just turning gears. There's no things slipping, there's no belt stretching or anything. It's a lot more efficient. That's why a Polaris guzzles lots of gas. I mean, think about it. They 40 some horsepower. You put that in my quad, it's a rocket. But in these, it just makes it able to do 55. And they guzzle gas. They get like pickup truck mile to gallon. I mean, not that. Mileage is what I meant to say. This right here on 1.3 gallons, riding fast. Like, you're just banging every single speed limit, you're revving and stuff, you're popping wheelies. You could get about 65 miles of range in that. And if you behave, you could probably see a little bit over 70 before you have to hit reserve. So, I mean, we're talking approximately the same range. I mean, the Polaris might get a little bit more range just because it has like a 5-gallon tank, but 2.2 gallons goes a long way in this quad. On the TDF and everything, I only burned like 1.25 gallons doing what I was doing because like I was cruising at speeds where I was getting good gas mileage for a lot of it. Now, semi-auto clutch really isn't as efficient, but because it is a smaller motor and it burns less fuel, like the optimum, like if you're going for the best fuel economy, the optimum cruising speed is about 5 miles per hour slower on this. It's about 25, 30, where mine is like a little bit over 30 miles per hour. Yeah, a little bit over 30 miles per hour, like not quite 35 is where it does the best. But this thing has a little bit bigger of a tank, so this thing sips fuel. And my quad, I mean, it's a race bike, but it sips fuel. I mean, what's funny is these new, big 4x4s guzzle gas. I mean, we're talking about, truck gas mileage here. I mean, 20 some miles a gallon. I mean, that's like what you could see in pickup trucks nowadays. Whereas this right here is like a Prius. It's loud, it spins tires and stuff, but it gets Prius mileage. I mean, this is like the Prius of the off-road world. I know it's kind of like insulting to say that, but that's kind of what it is. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys learned something about quads and all of that, and just like if you're in the market for more of a utility quad, what you should look at, and if you're in for a sport quad, like what you should look at. I don't know. I mean, this is just kind of like a random vlog. I just like to give you guys some updates on what happened to the quads and why it happened and just what might happen in the future. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And make sure you follow me on the social media as well, because I post there pretty much daily. And some of my posts are kind of funny. So if you have a sense of humor, you'll like it.